and we're talking about measuring the success and progress of transformation. And I'd like to just share some journey path of Egon. The N fell away, and it's a large financial, but I will share my screen also because I've got some stories with slides to tell to you. And if you're interested, I can always share the slides afterwards. All right. All right, you can see this, right?
Yeah.
Good. Well then, I'm here from the Netherlands, and the question of agility today brings in me, okay, so what's tomorrow? And in the previous session, we have talked about it, what gets you here won't get you there. And they also said, well, we need to figure out what are the puzzle pieces. So here maybe you'll get some puzzle pieces. And a little bit about me. Who am I? I am Abram Janse. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And I always kept on basically asking why. Why are we sitting in booths doing all the work? Why are we going to a building to do a job? And my first view was, okay, what do people do? I'm a behavioral scientist. I'm trained to learn what to do with people in large corporates, and how can we make it a bit more playful. I went to college, University College in Holland. I also went to Boğaziçi University in America, in the first American university that is in Turkey, Istanbul. And currently, after a long time of training, coaching, consulting in all kinds of positions, now I am in contract with a corporate, Egon. And as I said before, that's a financial company. I will tell a bit more about it soon. But my question to you is, what do you do when you're in a company and you want to know how to measure progress or how to get more progress and success in your transformation? And my first advice would be to learn to speak their language. So how do they listen and how do they speak? And there's several parts that you could look at, because people speak with certain words, and that's language, but also people use data a lot. And in finance, generally, data is a good way to make people listen and to see what you want to tell. Also, when we say, in Europe at least, when we say do as they do in here, we say when in Rome, do as they do in Rome. So also understand what are people doing here, not just bring your stuff, whatever it is that you do. Realize that you are a change agent in a world, basically, that already exists and has their own positions in social network and hierarchy, of course. And you can generally see that organizations that need more transformation, they're more hierarchical, so they listen to hierarchical position. So I would say go only into a position when you can actually make impact. Because if you go into a team and you're asked to make some agility happen, that generally really doesn't work. You need to work together with multiple people in the organization. If you have questions about that, come in, please. I thought I signed up for a job with a lot of impact, and then it turned out that I had to fight. It's a way of saying, for me, it felt like fighting my way into even my own coaching team to make them see what impact actually means. Instead of just disappearing and doing things, how can we make transparent what we actually do together? So it took me a while as well. All right, now, if people start to talk, and now I'm going to check if this is possible. Yeah, better. If people start to talk about transformation and so on, then they check. Can I take this away? You see yourself as well. All right, so if you say what is success and progress in agile transformation, generally we talk about layers of the cake or steps of a snake, or we make maturity transformation parts. And so we say, are you now in step 1, 2, 3, or 4? And that makes some sense, right? And then we start to see that we generally create more layers of the cake, more steps that we need to take. And we come to a very complicated world that people never really enter. and we say, so just take a bite of the cake, just eat a piece, and just start to do things. And sometimes some other people say it's like an elastic band, a rubber band, and just, you have to just stretch it. People, if they need a change, you just need to push them a little bit. And if you push them in the right direction, you keep pushing them, they will change somehow. But I feel that if you start pushing people in all kinds of direction, it kind of becomes an old rubber band and it breaks. So that's not really what we would like either. Okay. What would we like to do? If you're transforming and if you want more success in your transformation, maybe also say, what is transformation for you? And in general, we would say it's at least two things. It's organizational change and it's digital change. At least in agility, it's organizational change, doing something with the way people are working and talking to each other. And the other part is the digital part. Which tools are they working with and how do they collaborate with a digital way towards customer delivery? All right, so now I'm focusing particularly on the organizational way. And then we see SBP. So my question is, what would SBP mean? Any idea? I wonder if you have any recommendation, SBP, what it means. Anyone?
B could stand for behavior.
That's correct.
Not sure of S and P.
Anyone else?
S could be structural.
Correct. Perfect. And a P?
Practices, structural behavior
Practices, processes, they're similar to each other, yeah. So when I'm looking at organizational change or transformation, I'd like to know, how are people organized? How is the structure of them working together? And do we change something in that structure? So are they working in departments? And are they going to maybe work in value streams? How are they going to organize that structure? Also, I'd like to know processes. So previously we said we had a work document and we need to first step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and collaborate with the other people, and then a whole process appeared. And now apparently we have processes like working with SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, or we work with Scrum, different work processes. And the last part, and I found that corporates generally forget that, is the behavior that comes with it. So we wrote down that we work in different structures, we wrote down that we work in different processes, but are we actually changing the behavior? Are we working in that way? Are we talking to each other? So SBP. And here you see some pictures if you're interested. Here you see from hierarchy structure towards more network, from processes that are on paper working and quite technical, to more collaborative ways, multidisciplinary. And here from behavior that we push people and they're screaming, oh, please don't do this to me, to maybe more like a handshake, people collaborating. And so if you're talking about progress of the transformation, I'm looking at these kinds of large scale ideas. Is the structure going in the right way? Are the processes moving towards doing something together in multidisciplinary way? And behavior, are we doing it to people or with people? All right. And I compared it with, actually with a bit of a garbage pile. Clothes, they're not garbage per se, but after we wear it, they're becoming garbage. And if you have data about how are we doing things, generally we also just, we just sample something. How many teams are working with Scrum? Are they doing their daily stand-up? Are they actually having a Scrum Master? It's like, sampling a bit of data. But what does it do? Does it tell us how agile we are? No, it doesn't. At least I wouldn't know how to. The transformation agents in there, and asset management as well. So this is the scope of the transformation, about 3,000 people. Okay, so if you dig a bit deeper, the problems that we see is we see a rise of digital impacts. We're financial. So we need to also innovate. We need to have less amounts of workers and more automation, and therefore skill sets change. That's the transformation for real. So becoming more agile means doing more of this. Innovation, more automation, less workers per se, and different skill sets. Global financial markets are changing, and so we have a lot of regulation on our back. So we need to be in control. We cannot just use a Kanban and flow very quickly. And our portfolio is going to change as well. So the products that we offer are going to be out of the market in about 10 years. And so in the basic line, we have to 400 million, do 400 million savings per year. Okay. Now, as I said, SBP, what did we do here in Aegon? We had several large programs in 2019, Safe at Aegon, and they moved with 11 arts at your release trains. So hundreds of people moved into new ways of working, and most of them were not trained. They didn't really know what they're going to do. Also, they were going to change basically their operating model. They're moving people from marketing and all the different places, juridical, into the value streams. So they're moving different people into the value streams. And they didn't really look at the behavior. They just said, well, that's the structural move we're going to do, huge move. That's the process move we're going to do. We're just writing down how quality should be created right now with a safe background in mind. And then they just wrote down Rakis, who's responsible, accountable, who's consultant and informed, right? And they just wrote very specific role description for the product owner, etc. And then they said, go. And then we as organizational coaches had to help do it. And we found out that mid-year, about 70% were somewhat trained in their role, but the other 30% not at all. Sometimes filling key positions like RTE and product manager. And 20% of the teams were trained. And now we're already starting to look at progress or success of a transformation. I'm looking at different parts, S, P, B. What happened at S, what happened at P, and what happened at B. Yeah? And so I'm looking and I'm coming in this organization saying, hey, the B is missing here very much. And we found all this information just by, asking people with enquete and so on, and with questionnaire and so on. Okay. So what we found also is that SAFE doesn't really say much about behavior. It just says, go that way, the snake, go that way. So we had to figure out what to do ourselves. And I, in my previous jobs, had defined some phases, and in the phases, some challenges. And so I could kind of pinpoint where all the different value streams were in structure, in the different phases of the transformation. I will talk you through it. And so I saw that there was a lot of structure change in this company, a lot of process change, but the behavior change was not really there. And that resulted in a company with 6 value streams with about 300 to 500 people, about 5 enabling shared services, IT, supporting the value streams, and about 17 plus centers of excellence like juridical, finance, and so on. And so there were a lot of people moving through the organization, and the problem was that they were all speaking different languages, local languages. And so what do they mean with transformation? Well, they all talked about it in different ways. And in fact, before us, all the different value streams, they had their own coach that didn't really speak to each other. And so we wanted to set it up. But in general, we realized it was kind of a bubble. If you don't have behavior in it, it's a bubble and it's going to pop because all kinds of different communities are there. And there's not really, only on paper, there's one transformation. In reality, there are all kinds of small transformations. So what did we do? I'm going to shift to this mark. What did we do? On the behavior part, we looked at how are people and teams transforming? How is the network, the large network of about 3,000 people, how are they hooked on and transforming? And how is the vision of transformation? Is it there? And who is actually carrying it? And so here you can see some parts like for self and team, we looked at having a coach team and we were getting stronger. So we looked at being there for the people. We looked at having one coach approach and not just 15 for every small part, another one. And then we start to track data. And that's what I'm going to show you a few slides about, and the metrics to prove the progress. So I'll show you some slides and I'll see the time, then we're also almost out of the time there. So the data that I'm going to show you here is this part. Yeah. The part here is that I showed, okay, so who is actually leading the transformation? In the beginning, there were just some lone nuts into the local atmospheres. Then there was one central guiding coalition. And when we came into play as coaches, there was again one guiding coalition, which was top-down ruling. And we moved them back to being more polyvocal. Okay, this comes from a different talk of mine. This is a talk by itself, but it's data we used. All right, so we also used Gyra. Most of the people that are using something with Agile, they probably know this, Gyra. And we said, okay, so what is the connectivity? So if you're having an epic, are you connecting it with a feature? And are the teams connecting it with their stories? It sounds so simple, but it wasn't that simple. And so we looked at just being in control. If we're saying we're moving an epic, what does it mean? And so we start to sample data. We also said, well, use the 5 metrics that SAFe suggests. And I don't know if you know about it, but engagement, how people are engaged, quality, if we're delivering something, are we delivering it for real with quality, or are there many defects coming back? Predictable productivity, time to market, and in the end, business results. And so we asked all the different units, all the value streams and the ESSs, to come up with their idea of what are the metrics on these 5 parts. And so they came up with all kinds of goals. And here they have spread their actions over time. And here we're going to have an overview of all the different value streams with their arts. Here you see the trains, the 6 value streams, the 5 enabling services, and upcoming more centers of expertise. And where are they on their journey? And here we're measuring the progress of the transformation. And so we're familiarizing the leadership with all these different stages. And we're talking with the network, with the RTEs, the PMs, how will we call these different stages? And so we're having a very social, stronger network, which is basically showing that when new information comes in, we're also able to move with that. So that's the agility. I'm hearing the buzzer for the 5 minutes.
Yeah, Abram, we just have 5 minutes to wrap the session.
Sure. This is my last slide for you as data. This is the people that say, how happy are we with the new ways of working? The light blue is last year, January, when we started. And the dark blue is after half a year of work. And so this is the people themselves, all the people that work, that say, how happy are we with how it's progressing? Okay. Well, I told you a long story in quite a bit of slides in short time. I wonder how this come across, and do you have any questions about it? If anyone is still there and not just cameras.
No, we are with you. We are with you. I really enjoyed the session. It was great, interesting story. Do we have any questions from audience?
Yeah, Debbie?
Hi, I do. What I saw was a lot about the organization. How did you tie in the expectations from the end users or customers? So we actually provided valuable outcomes.
Yeah. So we found it important that transforming in agile ways means that all the different value streams and enabling shared services, they're actually starting to measure what is their customer saying about their service. And so for us, it's important that it is measured, that they're doing something with business results, one of the 5 metrics. But we don't care what exactly happens there. We care that they look at it and they're improving it locally. So we're looking at a very large scale.
Okay,
So our
thank you.
first concern is that we're listening.
Right.
And in fact, the NPS moved up, but that falls out of this information for me, but it moved up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, when we look at the Corona times and the numbers that went last year in the mix, Egon didn't do so well in the previous years, but last year it went quite well. And I'm not saying we did do that, but together we have created something that we say a stronger network. We start to care more of us. More of us start to care more. So we see results. That's good. All right. Any other questions? Thank you for participating. And if you have any desire to have the slides and the story, then let me know. And otherwise, thanks for joining. Have a good day, evening.
Thanks, Abram, for the great, wonderful session. We would request you if you can spare some time and go to the networking launch and consulting corner for further questions.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you so much. It was a great session.
Thank you.
Yeah.